My parents canceled my 16th birthday so my older sister wouldn't feel left out. I stayed quiet. I moved away, and no one even noticed. Years later, my sister stole their savings and left them bankrupt. They came asking for help, but I wasn't their daughter anymore. My name is Avery Collins. I'm 22 now, and this story has been sitting inside me for years, like a sealed room in a burning house. I kept telling myself I was over it. I kept saying it didn't matter anymore, that I had moved on, built something better, become someone stronger. But the truth is, some wounds don't disappear. They just wait until the people who caused them come crawling back and ask you to pretend they never happened. This started when I was 16, living in suburban Phoenix with my parents and my older sister Lily. Lily is 6 years older than me. She's 28 now. And from the day she was born, she was treated like the center of gravity in our house. Not in a sweet way. Not in the she's our first baby kind of way. In the kind of way where everyone else's needs had to orbit around her moods, her disasters, her tears, her emergencies, her boredom, her jealousy, her bad choices. My father owned a mid-size HVAC company that handled commercial contracts and high-end residential installs. My mother worked pharmaceutical sales and made good commission when she actually focused. Together, they brought in around $180,000 a year. We lived in a gated community with clean sidewalks, trimmed lawns, a pool, stucco houses, and neighbors who waved from driveways while silently judging each other's landscaping. From the outside, we looked comfortable.
Stable. Lucky.
That was the word adults used around me. You're lucky, Avery. Lucky to have a roof over my head. Lucky to have parents who provided. Lucky to live in a nice neighborhood. Lucky to have a sister. Nobody ever asked what kind of home it was once the front door closed. Lily learned early that drama got results. I don't mean normal emotion. I don't mean being sensitive or overwhelmed. I mean calculated meltdowns. The kind where her voice would rise by degrees until everyone in the house froze. The kind where she would clutch her chest, gasp like she couldn't breathe, threaten to disappear, threaten to hurt herself, and suddenly, whatever rule she had broken or responsibility she had ignored became irrelevant. By the time I was in middle school, my parents treated every Lily meltdown like a 5-alarm fire. Everything stopped. Dinner burned. Bills waited. My homework waited. My needs waited. The world had to pause until Lily felt soothed enough to accept another favor, another payment, another rescue. The double standards were so obvious that pretending not to see them became its own form of insanity. Lily got a brand new Lexus for her 16th birthday. Pearl white, custom leather interior, a giant bow on the hood like something from a commercial. When I turned 16, I was already driving my dad's old work truck with 190,000 miles on it and a check engine light that had been glowing since before I had a learner's permit. When Lily crashed her Lexus while texting, my father bought her a newer one because, according to him, she'd been through enough. When I got a speeding ticket for going 7 over, I was grounded for a month, had to pay the fine myself, and then my dad added an extra $200 as a lesson. When Lily got arrested for shoplifting at the mall, I was the one who picked her up at 2 in the morning because my parents were too embarrassed to show their faces. I was 14. I still remember standing outside the security office in pajama pants and sneakers, holding my mother's spare keys, watching Lily walk out with red eyes and folded arms like she was the victim. She didn't apologize. She looked at me and said, "Don't tell anyone." As if I had power in that house. As if anyone listened to me unless they needed something. I spent months tutoring Lily through math classes she kept failing while my own requests for help were brushed off. "You're smart, Avery. You'll figure it out. Your sister needs more support." That was the script. Lily needs support. Avery is responsible. Lily is sensitive. Avery is strong. Lily is still finding herself. Avery can handle disappointment. Every compliment they gave me was just another way to deny me care. I was the one keeping the house running while Lily created chaos. I maintained a 3.9 GPA. I worked 25 hours a week at an automotive parts store. I handled groceries when my mother forgot. I reminded my father about invoices. I printed documents. I cleaned up after parties I didn't attend. I covered for Lily when she borrowed money or disappeared for weekends. My parents didn't call it labor. They called it being helpful. They called it maturity. They called it family. But family, I learned, was a word they used when they wanted something from me. When Lily finally finished community college 2 years late, the house exploded into celebration. Balloons, catered food, relatives, champagne, speeches about perseverance. I was handed trash bags after the party. No one asked about my exam the next morning. No one asked if I was tired. I kept thinking it would change. That was the stupid part. I kept thinking one day my parents would look up and finally see me. Not as the quiet one. Not as the easy one. Not as the unpaid assistant holding the walls together. Just me, their daughter. I thought maybe my 16th birthday would be that day. 2 weeks before it, I asked if we could do something nice. Nothing huge. A backyard party, maybe 15 people. A grill, music, a few friends from school. Jordan, my best friend. A couple coworkers from the parts store. Even my biology teacher, Mrs. Henson. Because she had been kinder to me that semester than most adults in my life. I even offered to help pay for it with my own money. My mother smiled like she was pleased with herself for being agreeable. "That sounds sweet," she said. My father nodded. "We can do that." For a few days, I let myself believe them. We sent invitations. We planned the menu. We ordered a cake. Vanilla with blue frosting, because blue had been my favorite color since I was little. My name written across the top. Avery. Just Avery. For once, something in that house was supposed to have my name on it. Then, 3 days before the party, Lily came home and destroyed it. She had found out her best friend was throwing a pool party the same Saturday. Apparently, she hadn't been invited until late. Or maybe she had been invited and didn't like that the attention would not be entirely on her. I never got the straight version because Lily never told stories straight. She came into the kitchen already crying. Not sad crying. Performance crying. Her shoulders shaking, one hand pressed against her forehead, voice trembling just enough to make my mother turn away from the stove. "I can't believe you're still doing Avery's party this weekend," Lily said. I looked up from the table. My father lowered his phone. My mother frowned. "What do you mean?" Lily inhaled sharply. "Everyone is going to be at Madison's pool party. Everyone. And I'm already dealing with friendship drama, and now my own family is throwing a party here too? So I'm supposed to feel excluded everywhere?" I remember staring at her, waiting for someone to say the obvious. That it was my birthday. That she was 22. That not everything was about her. No one said it. My mother's expression softened in that dangerous way it always did when Lily started folding herself into victimhood. "Oh, honey." Lily wiped under her eyes. "I just need the house to be calm this weekend. I can't handle feeling like I don't belong anywhere." My father sighed, already tired of the conflict before I had even spoken. I said quietly, "It's my birthday party." Lily looked at me like I had slapped her. "I know that, Avery. God, that's not the point." But it was the point. It was the only point. My mother turned to me with that careful voice she used when she wanted me to swallow something sharp and thank her for it. "She has a point, sweetie. Your sister is going through a difficult time socially. Maybe we should reschedule so she doesn't feel isolated." My fork stopped against my plate. "Reschedule?" I asked. My father leaned back. "Your sister needs support right now. You're mature enough to understand." There it was. The sentence that had raised me. You're mature enough to understand. It meant give up what you wanted. It meant don't make this harder. It meant your disappointment is easier to manage than Lily's reaction. I looked at my mother. Then my father. Then Lily, who had stopped crying just enough to watch me. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just said, "Okay." And I went to my room. That Saturday, the day that should have been my party, my parents took Lily shopping to cheer her up. They spent about $800 on clothes, shoes, and makeup so she could feel better about her friendship situation. I worked my shift at the parts store. 8 hours under fluorescent lights, checking inventory, carrying brake pads, smiling at customers who asked if I was excited for the weekend. When I came home, the house was empty. Lily's shopping bags were spread across the kitchen counter like trophies. And inside the fridge, on the middle shelf, was my birthday cake. Untouched. My name in blue frosting. Avery. I stood there, with the refrigerator light spilling across my shoes, and felt something inside me go still. Not break. Not explode. Just freeze into place. That was the moment I stopped waiting for them to love me correctly. That was the moment I decided I was leaving, the day I turned 18. The next morning, I called everyone and canceled. I told them I was sick. Jordan knew something was wrong. He always did. He asked if I wanted to talk, and I lied. Mrs. Henson sounded concerned, but I brushed her off too. Because how was I supposed to say it? My parents canceled my birthday because my 22-year-old sister might feel left out. Even saying it in my head made me feel pathetic. On my actual 16th birthday, nobody mentioned it. Not at breakfast. Not at dinner. Lily spent the day at the pool, posting selfies. My mother was on a sales call until 8. My father was at a job site. I worked my shift, came home, and went to bed. No candles. No card. No hug. No happy birthday, Avery. Nothing. A few weeks later, Jordan's mom noticed first. I was at their house on a Sunday afternoon, helping Jordan with a project, when she pulled me aside near the laundry room. She had this look on her face like she had been trying not to say something for a long time. Then she said, quietly, "They treat you like an employee, not a daughter. You know that isn't normal, right?" I laughed because I didn't know what else to do. But the words followed me home. They followed me into the kitchen when my mother asked if I had picked up groceries. They followed me into the garage when my father handed me a stack of invoices. They followed me upstairs when Lily yelled for me to bring her charger because she didn't feel like getting up. They treat you like an employee, not a daughter. And the worst part was, she was right. I wasn't their daughter. I was the software keeping the house from crashing. Quiet. Useful. Invisible. And already planning my escape. From 16 to 18, nothing on the outside changed. That was the strange part. If you had looked at my life from a distance, you would have seen the same routine. School, work, chores, decent grades, quiet daughter, no drama. The kind of teenager parents brag about at dinner parties. But inside, something had already shut off. I wasn't trying anymore. Not trying to be seen. Not trying to be appreciated. Not trying to fix anything that wasn't mine. I was planning my exit. It started small. A bank account at a different bank than my parents used. I opened it on a Tuesday afternoon after school, sitting across from a teller who smiled like this was normal. Like 16-year-old girls opened accounts by themselves every day for no particular reason. Every paycheck from the parts store went straight into it. I left just enough in my regular account for gas and basic expenses so nothing would look suspicious. I separated my phone plan. I gathered my documents, birth certificate, social security card, school records, and kept them in a folder hidden behind old textbooks in my room. I stopped asking for anything. That part came easier than it should have. At work, things shifted too. Mr. Martinez noticed it first. He had always treated me like I mattered in a way that felt unfamiliar. Not overly emotional, not intrusive, just fair. If I did good work, he said so. If I messed up, he corrected it without making it personal. That alone made him different from everyone at home. One afternoon, while we were restocking filters in the back, he glanced at me and said, "You've been picking up extra shifts." I shrugged. "I like the hours." He didn't push, just nodded once. "You're reliable. That's worth something." Worth something. Not expected. Not assumed. Worth something. That sentence stayed with me longer than it should have. By 17, I was working almost every shift I could get. Opening. Closing. Weekends. Holidays. I learned inventory systems, supplier orders, how to talk to customers without sounding rehearsed. Martinez started trusting me with more responsibility, cash handling, scheduling, small management tasks. When he offered me assistant manager duties at 17, I took it without hesitation. The raise helped. But more than that, it felt like proof that effort could lead to something real, not just more work. At home, the favoritism didn't stop. It escalated. Lily cycled through part-time jobs she couldn't keep, relationships that ended loudly, and new crises every few weeks that somehow required money, attention, or both. And for the first time, I stopped cushioning the impact. I stopped reminding my dad about bill due dates. Stopped organizing my mom's follow-up spreadsheets. Stopped picking up after Lily when she left messes in every room she touched. It wasn't dramatic. I didn't announce it. I just didn't do it anymore. The house didn't collapse, but it started to strain in ways I noticed immediately. Mail piled up faster. Deadlines slipped. Small problems stayed problems longer. Nobody connected it to me. Of course they didn't. Employees don't get credit when things run smoothly. They only get noticed when something breaks. I also did something else. Something that turned out to matter more than I realized at the time. I started monitoring my credit. One of those free services with annoying notifications and bright-colored dashboards. At first, it felt unnecessary. Then I thought about Lily. About how easily she moved through the house, how casually she used things that weren't hers, how little consequence she had ever faced. So when I turned 17, I froze my credit at all 3 bureaus. It took less than an hour. I didn't tell anyone. I just did it and moved on. That decision would save me later. By the time my 18th birthday started getting close, my plan was almost complete. I had around $8,000 saved. Not a fortune, but enough. I had guaranteed admission to Arizona State with partial scholarships. I had steady work, a credit history, and an apartment lined up with 2 classmates who needed a third roommate. I had been moving things out slowly for weeks. A bag here, a box there. Important stuff first. Documents, electronics, clothes I actually wore. My room looked the same at a glance, but it felt emptier every day. No one noticed. No one ever came in anyway. My 18th birthday fell on a Wednesday. I woke up early, got dressed, walked into the kitchen. My dad was there, drinking coffee, scrolling through his phone. He glanced up. "Hey, on your way back, can you stop by the supply warehouse? I need filters for a job." No happy birthday. No acknowledgement. Just a task. "Yeah," I said. Because at that point, saying no would have required energy I didn't have for him anymore. My mom had already left for a client meeting. Lily was asleep. It was 9 in the morning. I went to work. Around mid-morning, Martinez came into the stockroom holding an envelope. He handed it to me. "From the guys," he said. Inside was a simple card. "Happy birthday, Avery," and a $50 gift card to a steakhouse. I stared at it longer than I should have. Something tight in my chest pulled loose for a second. "Thanks," I said, my voice steady. He nodded. "Take the rest of the day off." I almost lost it right there. Not because of the money. Not because of the card. Because someone had remembered. Because someone had decided I was worth acknowledging without being asked. I went home around 2. The house was quiet. My dad was still at a job site. My mom texted that she'd be late, client dinner. Lily was on the couch, watching reality TV. She didn't even look at me when I walked in. "Can you order food later?" she asked. "I'm starving and don't feel like going out." I stood there for a second, waiting. Just 1 second, for her to look up. For something. Anything. She didn't. "Sure," I said. Then I walked to my room and closed the door. Locked it. For the first time in my life, I locked my bedroom door inside that house. Then I pulled out the bags. 3 duffel bags. 2 boxes. Everything I had left. I packed methodically. Clothes first. Then my laptop. Then the folder with my documents. Photos I actually cared about. Just a few. The mini fridge I had bought with my own money. I unplugged it, wrapped it in a blanket. I went into the garage and took my tools. The ones I had paid for. The ones my dad borrowed without asking. I didn't rush. There was no adrenaline. No panic. Just quiet. Like I was finally doing something I had been rehearsing for 2 years. When everything was packed, I sat on the edge of my bed for a minute. The room looked hollow, like a version of my life that had already ended. Then I took out a piece of paper and wrote a note. Since my birthdays don't seem to matter, and my role here is apparently unpaid maintenance staff, I'm removing myself from the situation. I'm not angry. I'm unavailable. Don't contact me unless you're ready to acknowledge how you've treated me for 18 years. I'll be fine. I've been taking care of myself anyway. I placed the note on my bed, set the house key on top of it. Then I picked up my bags. It took 3 trips to load everything into the truck. On the second trip, I passed through the living room. Lily was still on the couch, scrolling, laughing at something on her phone. She didn't look up, didn't ask where I was going, didn't notice the bags. I could have been invisible. On the third trip, I paused at the front door, looked back at the house, the walls, the kitchen, the hallway where I had spent years carrying things that weren't mine. There was no surge of emotion, no last-minute doubt, just a quiet certainty. I opened the door, stepped outside, and closed it behind me. No one followed. No one called out. No one even noticed. I drove across town to my new apartment. 3 bedrooms, 2 roommates, barely furnished, a place that smelled faintly like cheap detergent and fresh paint. And for the first time in my life, everything inside it was mine. The relief hit me all at once. Heavy. Overwhelming. Like I had been holding my breath for years and didn't realize it until I could finally exhale. The first night, I sat on the floor of my empty room, back against the wall, staring at the ceiling. No noise. No demands. No footsteps coming down the hall. No voice calling my name for something I didn't owe. Just silence. The good kind. I thought I would feel scared, or guilty, or lost. Instead, I felt clear. Like I had finally stepped out of a role I never agreed to play. The next morning, reality started. Rent. Bills. Groceries. Work. School. No safety net. No backup. If something broke, it was on me. If I got sick, it was on me. If I failed, it was on me. And for the first time, that felt fair. Because at least now, everything I carried belonged to me. The first few months on my own didn't feel like freedom. They felt like survival. Not dramatic survival. Not the kind people post about. Just constant, quiet pressure. Rent due on the 1st. Utilities a few days after. Gas, groceries, textbooks. Everything had a number attached to it. Everything had a consequence if I got it wrong. My share of rent was $650 plus utilities. On paper, it worked. In reality, it meant planning every dollar like it had a personality. Meal prepping became a routine. Chicken, rice, eggs, store brand everything. Sundays were for cooking, portioning, stacking containers in a fridge that was mine, even if it barely held anything. I set reminders for every bill. Triple-checked due dates. Because one missed payment wouldn't just be a mistake. It would be a chain reaction. Work became my anchor. 32 steady hours a week. Sometimes more when I could get them. Martinez leaned on me more, but not in the way my parents had. He gave responsibility with authority. If I handled something well, I got credit. If I didn't, I got corrected, not dismissed. It made a difference. School started at Arizona State. Full course load. Business track. Long days that blurred together. Some weeks I ran on 5 hours of sleep and gas station coffee. Wake up. Work. Classes. Study. Repeat. It was exhausting. But it was honest. No hidden expectations. No emotional debt. Just effort and outcome. Still, the hardest part wasn't the workload. It was the silence. I kept checking my phone at first. Not constantly, just enough to notice. No calls. No texts. No missed messages. Nothing from my parents. Nothing from Lily. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. My room at their house was empty. My truck was gone. A note was sitting on my bed. And still, nothing. That silence confirmed something I had suspected my entire life, but never fully accepted. I hadn't been missed. I had been replaced. Or worse, absorbed. Like a function in a system that disappears when it's no longer needed. Jordan kept me from getting stuck in that thought. He never pushed me to talk. Never tried to fix anything. He just showed up. Invited me over for dinner. Texted me random things. Made sure I wasn't disappearing into my own head. His mom kept doing what she had always done. Asked about my day. Packed leftovers. Looked at me like I was worth noticing. It felt normal. That was the strangest part. Normal felt foreign. Around month 3, I hit a small milestone. Emergency fund, $500. Grades, solid. Bills, paid on time. It wasn't impressive, but it was mine. So I did something I had never done before. I bought something just because I wanted it. A used PlayStation 4. $120. 2 controllers. A couple games. I set it up in my room and just stared at it for a second. It wasn't a tool. Not something to fix. Not something to earn money. Just something that made me happy. I played for an hour that night, then went back to studying. But that hour felt like proof that I wasn't just surviving. I was building something. Around 6 months in, I started to find a rhythm. Work. School. Sleep. Repeat. The loneliness didn't disappear, but it softened. It stopped feeling like a hole and started feeling like space. Manageable. Predictable. And then, in January, I met Caleb. He worked at a coffee shop near campus. At first, it was just small talk. Ordering coffee between classes. A few comments about the weather. Nothing that mattered. Then one day, he noticed what I was studying. "You're in the business program?" he asked, nodding toward my notes. "Yeah." "Same," he said. "Different schedule, though." That turned into a 5-minute conversation, which turned into seeing each other again the next week. Then sitting at the same table. Then actually studying together. Caleb was easy. That's the word I kept coming back to. Not in a boring way. In a quiet way. He didn't need me to prove anything. Didn't expect me to perform. Didn't turn every conversation into something heavy. He just liked being around me. And somehow, that felt more intense than anything I had experienced before. Study sessions turned into coffee dates. Coffee dates turned into actual dates. Nothing rushed. Nothing forced. Just steady. When I told him the basics of my family situation, I kept it short. Didn't dramatize it. Didn't go into details. Just enough to explain why I didn't talk to them. He listened. Nodded. And said, "That sounds rough. I'm glad you got out." That was it. No pity. No trying to fix it. No making it about him. Just acknowledgement. That mattered more than anything. 3 months into dating, he invited me to dinner with his family. I almost said no. Not because I didn't want to go. Because I didn't know how to exist in that kind of environment. Families, in my experience, were unpredictable. Conditional. Tied to expectations I couldn't always see until I failed them. But Caleb didn't push. Just said, "No pressure. Just thought I'd ask." So I said yes. They lived in Mesa. About 30 minutes out. Normal house. Normal neighborhood. Nothing flashy. His mom taught elementary school. His dad worked for the city water department. Solid. Stable. Real. When we walked in, his mom smiled like she had been expecting me. "Hi, Avery. I've heard so much about you." Not in a performative way. Just warm. His dad shook my hand. Asked about school. About work. And then, this was the part that caught me off guard. He remembered my answers. The next time I came over, he asked follow-up questions. Details. Things that meant he had actually listened. Caleb's older sister Nora was there too. 2 years older than him. Worked as a welder. Hands rough, voice calm, eyes sharp in a way that made it clear she noticed everything. She gave me a look when we met. Not unfriendly. Evaluating. Like she was deciding something. "Caleb says you work on cars," she said. "Yeah, mostly basics." She nodded once. "Good." That was it. But somehow, it felt like a test I had passed. Dinner felt unreal. Not because it was fancy, because it wasn't. It was simple. Food on the table. People talking. Questions asked and answered. Laughter that didn't feel like a setup for something else. No one was keeping score. No one was waiting for someone to mess up. No one needed to be managed. At the end of the night, Nora pulled me aside near the garage. "I heard a little about your situation," she said. Nothing detailed. I tensed slightly, waiting for something. Advice. Judgment. Pity. Instead, she said, "You ever work on motorcycles?" I blinked. "Not really." "I've got a project bike," she said. "Could use another set of hands if you're interested." I hesitated for half a second, then said, "Yeah, I'd like that." She nodded. Saturday mornings, 9. No ceremony. No big speech. Just an invitation. The first Saturday, I showed up early. The bike sat in the garage. A beat-up 1984 Honda Nighthawk. Rust in places. Wires exposed. Engine barely holding together. $800, Nora said. Barely ran when I got it. We started simple. Oil. Battery. Fluids. She showed me how to read the manual. How to organize tools. How to approach problems without rushing. She didn't talk down to me. Didn't rush me. Didn't take over when I hesitated. She let me figure things out. Corrected me when needed. And trusted me to learn. We spent hours in that garage. Working. Talking about nothing important. Sometimes not talking at all. Around noon, we'd take a break. Eat something quick. Sit on the floor or the edge of a workbench. No expectations. No pressure. Just time. After a few weeks, I started bringing my PlayStation. Nora had a better TV setup. We'd finish working on the bike. Clean up. Then sit down and play for a couple hours. Racing games at first. Then co-op shooters. It became routine. Saturday mornings were no longer empty. They were something I looked forward to. Something stable. Something that belonged to me. And somewhere in the middle of all that, between the oil changes, the wiring fixes, the shared meals, and the quiet conversations, I realized something I hadn't felt in years. I was relaxed. Not waiting for something to go wrong. Not preparing for someone to take something from me. Just present. That feeling scared me at first. Because it was unfamiliar. Because it felt like something that could be taken away. But week after week, it stayed. Somewhere between surviving and settling, my life started to click. Not all at once. Not in a big dramatic moment. Just small things lining up in ways they never had before. By the time I was 20, I had finished my associate degree and transferred to Arizona State full-time for my bachelor's in business management. Work at the parts store had turned into something real. When Martinez moved up to a district role, he recommended me for store manager. I remember sitting in the office when they told me. 20 years old. Store manager. Salary. Benefits. A team that looked at me like I knew what I was doing. For a second, I thought they had made a mistake. Then I realized I had earned it. Not by being easy, not by being mature, but by actually doing the work. The Yamaha motorcycle I had started rebuilding with Nora was finally running smoothly. What started as a rusted-out project had turned into something functional.
Reliable.
Mine. I even started doing small side jobs.
Repairs.
Flips. Nothing huge, but an extra $400 or $500 a month that went straight into savings. And every Saturday morning, without fail, I was still in that garage with Nora.
Wrenching. Laughing. Gaming afterward.
She started calling me her sister casually, not making a thing of it. Just including me. Caleb's parents started doing the same. When I got promoted, his mom made a full dinner. Not just something small. A real celebration. His dad took me out for breakfast the next week and told me he was proud of me. Proud. The word hit differently, coming from someone who had no obligation to say it. Caleb and I moved in together when I was 21. A small one-bedroom closer to campus. Nothing fancy. But ours. We split rent. Split responsibilities. Shared everything. And for the first time, it didn't feel like I was carrying someone else. It felt like we were building something together.
Equal. Steady.
Safe. 6 months later, I proposed. Not in a big, dramatic way. No audience. No pressure. Just the two of us, at a state park we had gone to a few times before. Quiet trails. Late afternoon light. I didn't even get through the whole question. Caleb said yes before I finished. Just smiled and said, yes. Like it had never been in doubt. We planned a small wedding. Nothing over the top. Just close friends and the people who had actually been there for us. Caleb's parents insisted on helping with the cost. I tried to push back. They didn't let me. That's what family does, his mom said. That sentence almost undid me. The wedding was in October, about 3 years after I left home. Outdoor venue in Scottsdale. Around 60 people. Simple. Warm. Real. Nora stood beside Caleb. Jordan stood beside me. A few coworkers. A few friends. People who knew who we were, not just what we could provide. During the ceremony, Caleb's mom cried almost the entire time. His dad shook my hand afterward and said, "I'm proud to call you my daughter-in-law." That was the moment something inside me broke open. Not in a painful way. In a release. Like something I had been carrying quietly for years finally let go. We took photos. Posted a few online. Simple caption. Just married. No comments. No drama. I didn't think about my parents. Not really. They had become background noise in my life. A story I used to tell myself to explain who I had been, not who I was. I didn't know they had been watching. Apparently, my mom had been checking my social media for years. Keeping track. Telling her own version of the story to anyone who would listen. That I had needed space. That I was difficult. That I would come back when I was ready. The wedding photos broke that version. Because I didn't look lost. I didn't look angry. I looked happy. And that didn't fit the narrative she had been building. That's when they started paying attention. By then, everything at their house had already started to fall apart. At first, it wasn't obvious. Just small things. Bills paid late. Mail piling up. Paperwork ignored. Things I used to handle quietly. Without me there, no one picked them up. The house started slipping. Landscaping went bad. Weeds took over. HOA notices started showing up. Neighbors noticed. Started talking. But the real problem was Lily. Without me buffering everything, my parents had to deal with her directly. For the first time. And they weren't prepared. She dropped out of school completely. Couldn't hold a job. Kept getting arrested.
Shoplifting. DUI.
More shoplifting. Every incident meant money. Lawyers.
Fees. Damage control.
That's when they finally started looking at their finances closely. And what they found was worse than anything they expected. Lily had been stealing from them for years. Small amounts at first, then bigger, then brazen. Around $60,000 taken directly. Another $30,000 in debt opened in their names. Forged documents. Unauthorized accounts. She had even tried to open credit in my name. Twice. And a personal loan. All of it failed. Because my credit had been frozen since I was 17. If I hadn't done that, I would have been dragged into it too. Instead of cutting her off, my parents doubled down. They took out a second mortgage, covered her debts, paid her legal fees, tried to fix it, the same way they had always fixed everything. With money, with denial, with more chances. Then Lily found something new. A cryptocurrency investment opportunity.
A scheme.
One transaction. $38,000 from their savings. Gone. Within weeks. That was it. That was the hit they couldn't recover from. Everything collapsed after that.
Bankruptcy.
House gone. Business failing under debt. My mom losing her position and getting demoted. My dad losing contracts. They sold everything. Moved into a 900 square foot apartment in a rough part of town. My dad started working for a competitor. Basic installs. My mom picked up extra jobs.
Retail.
Long hours. The pressure broke them. After 26 years, they separated. My dad moved in with his brother. My mom stayed in the apartment, working 60 hours a week just to stay afloat. Both of them aging faster than they should have. All of it. The financial collapse. The emotional breakdown. The consequences they had avoided for years. Finally caught up. And then they came looking for me. They didn't call first. They didn't text. They didn't go through anyone the way I had made clear they should. They just showed up. 4 months after the wedding. Saturday morning. Same as always. I was in Nora's driveway, sleeves rolled up, hands greasy, working through a carburetor rebuild on a client bike. The sun was already climbing, heat settling into the concrete, tools laid out in neat rows the way she had taught me.
Routine. Predictable.
Safe. Then a car pulled up. Older model sedan. Faded paint. Dent on the passenger side. The kind of car people drive when everything else is gone. Nora noticed first. She didn't say anything right away, just straightened slightly, eyes tracking the car. "You know them?" she asked quietly. I followed her gaze, and for a second, it felt like looking at ghosts. My parents stepped out slowly. They looked smaller. Not physically, but diminished. My dad had lost weight. His posture was tighter, like his back hurt more than it used to. His clothes didn't fit right. Cheap fabric, worn edges. My mom looked exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes. Hair showing gray at the roots she would have never let show before. They stood there for a moment, just looking. At the garage. At the tools. At me. Like they were trying to understand how I fit into this life they had never been part of. I didn't stand up. Just set the wrench down. Wiped my hands slowly. Waited. Nora stayed exactly where she was. Not stepping in front of me. Not stepping back. Just present.
Solid.
My dad spoke first. "Avery," he said, like the name was unfamiliar in his mouth. "We need to talk. Can we go somewhere private?" My voice came out steady. "No." He blinked. "What?" "Anything you need to say, you can say here." My mom's eyes were already filling. "We saw your wedding photos," she said softly. "You look so happy." She took a small step forward. "Why didn't you invite us?" The question hung there.
Fragile.
Almost reasonable, if you didn't know the history behind it. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't move. Because you didn't remember my 16th birthday, I said. Or my 18th.
Silence.
My dad's jaw tightened. We made mistakes, he said quickly. We admit that. But we're your family. You don't just walk away from family. I already did, I said, 4 years ago. My mom flinched like I had hit her. We were going through a lot, she said. Lily was always something, I cut in. And every time you chose her. My dad's voice sharpened. That's not fair. It's accurate. Nora shifted slightly beside me. Not aggressive. Just closer. My mom wiped at her eyes, trying to regain control of the conversation. We're not here to argue, she said. We need help. There it was. The real reason. Not the wedding. Not the years of silence. Help. With what? I asked, even though I already knew. My dad hesitated. Then said it anyway. Things have been difficult. I let the silence stretch. Forced him to fill it. Your sister, he started. Destroyed your finances, I finished. I know. Both of them froze. You know? My mom whispered. I know enough. They looked at each other. Something unspoken passing between them. Then my mom stepped forward again. We're trying to fix things, she said. We're doing everything we can, but it's not enough. We thought, with how well you're doing, maybe you could help us get back on our feet. There was no anger in me. That surprised me. No surge. No heat. Just clarity. You ignored me for 4 years, I said. Didn't call, didn't text, didn't apologize, didn't even check if I was alive. And now you're here because you need something. That's not why, my dad started. It is, I said. He stopped. Because he knew it was true. My mom's voice broke. We didn't know how to reach you. You didn't try. Silence again. Heavy. My dad shifted, frustration starting to show. After everything we did for you, he said, raising you, feeding you, giving you a home. Let's be clear, I cut in, my voice still even. I raised myself. I fed myself with money I earned. You gave me a room, and I paid for it by managing your life. That landed hard. My dad's face went red. That's not... You don't get credit for the bare minimum, I said. Nora spoke for the first time then.
Calm. Firm.
I think you should leave. My dad looked at her like he had just realized she existed. Who the hell are you? He snapped. She didn't flinch. I'm her sister. The word hung there. Not biological. Not explained. Just true. My mom looked between us.
Confused.
You replaced us, she said, her voice small. I shook my head. I found people who show up. She took another step forward. If you won't help financially, she said quickly, at least talk to us. Meet with us. Let us be part of your life again. I felt something then. Not anger.
Finality.
You had 18 years to be part of my life, I said. You chose Lily every time. You don't get to show up now asking for access because everything collapsed. My dad's voice rose. You're being cruel. I'm being done. That shut him up. I stood there for a second, then said clearly, here's how this works. You contact me only through Aunt Karen, only for actual emergencies. You don't come to my home. You don't come to my work. You don't contact my husband. My mom flinched at the word.
Husband.
You don't get access, I continued. And if you ignore that, I will make it legal. My dad stared at me, trying to find something.
A crack. A weakness.
There wasn't one. My mom's voice dropped to a whisper. Please, we've lost everything. I held her gaze. You lost everything because you enabled Lily into being a 28-year-old who commits fraud, I said. That's your consequence, not mine. Tears slid down her face. I didn't move, didn't soften. I already paid what I owed this family, I said. I'm done. Nora stepped forward then, not threatening, just ending it. You heard her, she said. Time to go. They stood there for a few seconds longer, like they were waiting for me to change my mind. To fold. To step back into the role they had built for me. I didn't. Eventually, they turned, got back into the car, and drove away. I watched until the car disappeared down the street. Then I picked up my phone, texted my aunt. My parents showed up unannounced. If they try again outside emergencies, I'm filing a trespass warning. Please confirm you got this. She replied immediately. Received. I'm sorry. I didn't think they'd actually come. I told her it was fine. Just not to share anything about me again. Then I put my phone down. Nora looked at me. You good? She asked. I picked up the wrench. Yeah, I said. I'm good. And I meant it. We went back to work. Finished the rebuild. Cleaned up. Went inside. Caleb had already texted. Are you okay? I told him what happened. He came over after work. We ate dinner. Sat on the couch. Normal. Later that night, he asked quietly, Do you feel bad? I thought about it. Really thought about it. No, I said. They didn't want me, I added. They wanted what I could do for them. He squeezed my hand. Good, he said. You deserve better. I know. A few weeks passed. Quiet. No contact. Then one night, I got a call from an unknown number while closing the store. I answered. Against my better judgment. Avery? Lily. Her voice sounded different. Less sharp. Less certain. I'm in therapy now, she said quickly. I'm working on myself. I know I've been toxic. I know I hurt everyone. I'm trying to take accountability. The words came out too smooth. Too practiced. I let her finish. Then I asked one question. Are Mom and Dad paying for it? Silence. Then, yeah, but that's not the point. It is, I said. She stumbled. I'm actually trying to change. You're 28, I said, and still depending on them to fix what you broke. That's not fair. You want to make amends? I cut in. Get a full-time job. Move out. Pay them back every dollar. Do that for a year. Then call me. She started crying. Said I was being harsh. Unfair. Cold. I listened for a second, then said, Trying doesn't count when it's funded by someone else. And I hung up. When I got home, Caleb asked about it. I told him. He didn't say much, just nodded. Because he understood. Lily's apology wasn't about accountability. It was about relief. About easing her own guilt without changing anything real. 3 months passed after that. Nothing. No follow-up. No effort. No change. They had tried everything.
Guilt. Desperation. Apology.
None of it worked. Because I wasn't the same girl anymore. The one who stayed quiet. The one who accepted less. The one who believed being strong meant being used. Last Saturday, Nora and I finished another project. A 1979 Honda CB750. Deep blue. Engine smooth. We took it out at sunset. Open road. Wind cutting through the heat. The kind of moment you don't need to explain to anyone. When we got back, Caleb was there. Dinner ready? His parents dropped by later. We all sat around the table. Talking. Laughing. No tension. No expectations. Afterward, Nora and I set up the PlayStation. Ran a few games. Same as always. Simple. Easy. Real. And somewhere in the middle of all that, I realized something. This is what winning looks like. Not revenge. Not watching them fall apart. Not getting an apology that comes too late. Just this. A quiet life. With people who choose you. My parents chose Lily. Every time. For 18 years. They taught me I didn't matter. I learned the lesson. And I applied it back. They wanted access. I chose peace.